Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next installment of Azure Cloud Talk. I'm here, Alec Harrison, one of your hosts. For this special edition of Azure Cloud Talk, there will be a video actually accompanying this for Azure Back to School. So if you want to check out more or see the full video, I'll do my best to be describing a lot of this because we're not going to look at anything too super crazy. But if you want to see the video accompanying of this, go to Azure Back to School. There's also a lot of other cool things there. So much just it's a fun conference that you can learn a bunch about Azure at around the back to school time. So check it out. It's ran by Dwayne and Derek, both great guys. So again, check it out. That's where this video recording will eventually end up. So what I'm going to start with today is kind of how do we maybe speak different languages, or say like I'm a global company and I want to, for example, try to have content that I have maybe written in one language to address other markets or areas that I might be trying to expand in or do business in. And what kind of offering does Azure have to help me do that? I think there's a few different things here that we can go ahead and use. The most basic is the text translator. If you look here, I'm going to type in, "Hello, my name is Alec." And since you can't see the screen, what this actually does is it does use a little bit of AI here to auto detect what I'm doing. And it'll tell you, okay, I think the language that it's going to auto detect the from and in, kind of like you would with Google Translate, right? And then it'll translate it to, I have it set by default to just Spanish. So it'll tell me what the response looks like if I were to make this API call. So the nice part is as I type, the left hand side is the empty text box, but right below it shows me the JSON payload that I need to send to basically do this via an API. And then on the right side, it shows me, okay, what language do I want it to? Here's the output back if I want the simple. But then it also shows me what my response would look like if I made that API call. It is a little bit different than just a plain translate because we are doing a little bit of AI. We auto detect. So it's telling me the language that it thinks it came in on, which was English. The confidence, I believe it's 0 to 1. It's 100% confident that it's English because I said, "Hello, my name is." Um, and then it translated it to ES, which is Spanish. And then the text was, "Hola, mi hombre es Alec." So there's a few different ways we could do this. If you think about it in kind of a bigger architecture standpoint, you can do tools like Azure Form Recognizer if you have PDFs. That way you can kind of hold on to the structure of your documents. If you want to feed it through a system like this, you wouldn't necessarily have to auto detect the language it's coming from, right? Because you're going to be bulk exporting or bulk translating documents, you probably know what they're coming from. So that does save you a little bit on the compute because you're not having to run the extra auto detect of what the language is that it's coming from. You can just hard code that to something like English or Spanish or whatever your origin language of origin is. And then you could go through and dump out different words or phrases into that. Where this comes into play, that might be a kind of a limitation is what if I have custom terminology or words to my industry or to my company? There is such a thing as a custom dictionary in AI services, specifically translators. So we can actually create a dictionary if we have a set word or phrases. You can think of it kind of like a computer aided translation. That is something that used to exist a while ago, right? That we could use computers to help us translate documents. We basically would build up a large key value pair essentially of, hey, if you see this word or phrase, this is what it means in these languages. And we could then that way start building out full sentences based on that. And then we could start getting, more and more common phrases. And then that way I can say, okay, well, does this phrase exist in my first dictionary, which is custom words or phrases to me in my industry? But then I also have the fallback of what are the generic words or phrases that they translate to. And then, fast forward to today, right? We have AI that can truly say, okay, here's the word, phrases, and in this context, here's kind of what it means. It gives a more thinking impression, especially since GPT. O1 just dropped, right? A little bit more reasoning, a little bit more thought. Uh, we have a little bit more tools than maybe we had in like the earlier days of like the pre-internet, around that kind of time when we still needed to translate because we still want to talk to different areas and locations, but we have more intricate solutions that can do that easier. So you can build out a few different things. We can build out a phrase dictionary. It's case sensitive. It does a very plain find and replace operation. So when you do that, it'll basically say like if you see the word like my company name, right? I want that to always be capitalized. It's a proper noun, no matter the language, and I always want it to be company name. Even if I have a company say like Apple, right? Apple, if it's just a no context translator, it's going to say Apple and then translate it to the Spanish word for apple. But maybe in this particular case, if I'm in technology and electronics, right, whenever I'm referring to Apple, I'm probably referring to the brand, not to the object itself. So we can create a custom dictionary to do some of that. We can do a dynamic dictionary that allows us to customize translation for specific terms or phrases. So we could say, uh, for example, the trying to think of a good phrase, the Apple Vision Pro, maybe we have a tagline that we've gone through marketing, or maybe we've gone through, just to keep on the Apple train, um, branding, marketing. Maybe there's a particular phrase or a particular way we want to say something that, um, translating from English to Spanish, it might technically be correct, but maybe you're using the wrong term of a verb, or maybe you're using the wrong way to use that word. So you might grammatically technically be right, but it might be in the context of the language very bizarre or way out of left field, right? You think of the versions of um thinking of trying to think of a word on the spot in English of like there, and there. That's a good one that just grammatically you can look at and say, okay, that's the wrong one. But there's words and different phrases, we use for slang, we use for different types of ways to say things in relationship to others that while it might technically be correct, it would look weird to any normal person or any person, who is familiar or fluent with the language. Neural phrase dictionary extends the dynamic dictionary and standard phrase dictionary. They allow you to customize translation outputs by providing your own translations for specific terms or phrases. So we can go ahead and do that. We can do sentence dictionary, dictionary only trainings. So we can train a model using only our dictionary. So if we have a very robust system that we've been building out forever, we can go ahead and roll that into here so that way we can train it only on the specific words and phrases that we want it to do. Then there's some recommendations for Microsoft. This is all on Microsoft Learn. So this is really great if we're trying to do, for example, just um, English to Spanish or just text to text documentation, right? But what if I want to do a little bit more? What if I have videos? What if I have media that I want to get changed? Or maybe I want to add audio to, maybe I want to cater to my employees that don't have, maybe they want screen readers or make it more accessible. We can go ahead and use a different service in Azure. So we'll go ahead and do a speech service here. And I'm going to change the sharing here just a minute. So what I'm switching to is the Azure Speech Studio. Share the screen. I have to change the Chrome tab. That way I can also share the audio because we'll be doing some stuff with audio here. So we have the fun stuff in Azure Speech like live chat avatar, language learning, video translation, which we'll get to. But say I want to first caption something, right? Because I want to translate a video. Maybe I don't have the raw captioning, so I can actually do a post or a captioning with speech to text. So there is an API in Azure that we can call. So we either give it an offline capturing, which is a little bit more real time if you're going to display it on the video, right? Because we can download it and get that um, translation or that speech to text in our own time, right? We're not trying to do it as quick as humanly possible. It tends to be a little bit cheaper that way as well. We can do flags like profanity maxing or masking. So if we don't want to, translate profanity, it'll go ahead and asterisk it out. We can also have phrases. So we can have phrases that we would normally see that maybe aren't normal. In the example, they have for captioning Cosmos DB, NoSQL, PMM, and other phrases like that we can do that are important to make it more likely to be recognized. We can also do live captioning as well. In the example, you'll notice it's a little bit delayed. We'll play that and I will call out exactly when I see the first line.
When it comes to the neural TTS, in order
Right there. That was when we saw the first one. So it does lag a little bit behind. It does cost a little more if you're doing real time as well. So just be aware of that if you want to do some real time captioning. It is going to be a little bit slower. You can do some different knobs and turns to make it a little quicker, but it's also going to cost you a little more just because it is real time. Then say, okay, we have the script, right? We have roughly the time. What if I want to maybe create a narration to go along with text, right? I can go ahead and do a real time speech to text, which we'll go ahead and click into here. So I can do either a video or audio source here. This is the same as video captioning, but it could just be an MP3, it could be a song, it could be literally whatever. We can upload it here. I could even talk into it and say, like, hello. We'll just do that real quick. Allow this. Hello, my name is Alec. And you'll notice it just says hello, comma, my name is period. That's about it. Nothing too crazy, but if you have something that's not a video or just audio you want to change, we can do that as well. There's also custom speech. We'll go ahead and skip that actually for a second. This can we can add different slang or ways of speaking that help would be more natural to you. Uh, we're also going to do speech translation, which is kind of cool. So same way I did that, we can also have it speak out the translation back. So say I'm, in a foreign country, I'm trying to figure out where's the bathroom. I could say something like, "Where is the bathroom?"
Where is the bathroom?
And I just realized I told it to translate from English to English. So that's not going to do anything. So let's just do for fun French. So let's try that again. Where is the bathroom?
Où se trouve la salle de bain?
And it'll translate to Spanish. Or sorry, French. And it's pretty quick. So we can go ahead and use that. If you have an application, right, where you want to do more real-time translations, I think the Google earbuds, the newest ones, are kind of cool. They do something similar to this of if you talk, it'll try to do two-way translation of hearing what the person is saying to you, translating it to your language, and then I think it goes the other way as well. So that's cool that this technology is now off the shelf. You can just use it, drop it into your application. There's APIs for it and SDKs. So you can go ahead and drop it in and start using it. And then with all of these, there is also code on GitHub. So you can either use the CLI or see how other people are using this as well. We also have text to speech. If I can find the right button. There's speech to text, speech to text. I'm trying to find. Sorry, I'm struggling to find. Audio content creation is maybe the new. Looks like they changed the UI on me. So we can now say, hello and welcome to my TED Talk. Sorry, to my Azure Cloud Talk for Azure Back to School. My name is, and let's pick a. All right, we're using Ollie. So it'll say, my name is Ollie. If I hit play.
Hello, and welcome to my Azure Cloud Talk for Azure Back to School. My name is Ollie.
So I can go ahead and click in there. There's different hertz I can set. There's different templates we can try. So if I want to create a template, we can do that. But essentially, I could create any sort of content in any language. We can add silence types here. So if I wanted it to be silent, um, either before, after, trailing, I can configure a bunch of that to try to make it sound more like the exact format I want it. Um, there's different pronunciation rules we can do. You can provide it a lexicon, intonation, rate. So say maybe I thought that was really slow. We'll go ahead and do this. I can speed it up.
Hello, and welcome to my Azure Cloud Talk for Azure Back to School. My name is Ollie.
And then I can change pitch. I can change volume. So let's turn the pitch way down. Let's turn the volume up. We'll set both of those. And then there's relative and constant. So we could change both of those. So you notice we just drop the pitch super far down, change the volume. And then there's some UI here as well to make it look like, so we can see what actually happens. And we can change to any of these different languages that are given. We picked a United Kingdom English. There's a bunch of different types of English we could do: English, Hong Kong, Dutch, Australia. So there's a ton of different dialects. So if you're trying to have a voice in a particular dialect, it's likely covers a lot of them. So that is the audio content creation. The thing that's cool about this is if you wanted to use, for example, like the text translation and then have an audio, bring along, we totally can do that. The other thing that's really neat is we can actually do video translations as well. We'll create a project here. We'll do this video. This was a previous AI video I've used. We'll translate it to Germany. Or sorry, to German. And this shouldn't take too long because it's a 6-second video. Go ahead and let that go. The other thing that we can do for content creation or speaking any other languages is I can actually switch to a region that is supporting avatars. So live chat avatars do cost a little more, the same as live chat captioning, but
What are the differences between the Surface Pro and Surface Go product lines?
The Surface Pro is more powerful with a larger display, while the Surface Go is smaller, more portable, and has a lower price point.
so you can actually play with the avatars too. There's a bunch of different ones, and you could actually ask it questions in English. The model underneath the scenes is GPT-4o. We could do that. There is a slight delay when you do real time. So we can actually see what the chat looks like, do all that, make it very much seem like you're talking to a person, which is a little weird. But this is our system prompt. So we could put a system prompt here if we had to tell it, hey, like this is the persona I want you to embody. We can also do different types of response styles. So if we want default, simple, casual, custom, we can do all that. And that would go in here as well if you wanted to do custom. But there's a bunch of different avatars to choose from. You can see we can also drop this into any website. So it has, oh my goodness, the same as the other one. Tell me my resource key, all that sort of stuff. We can go and see the sample code on GitHub. So I could drop this avatar potentially into my website if I want people to just ask questions. Now that our video translation is done, we'll go back to East US. This is a consumption-based model or of pricing. So even though I'm switching between regions and have multiple resources, it doesn't cost me anything to have multiple because I'm not paying for them. So if you look, this was a joke because of Tim Gifford, one of the owners of LT or one of the partners. He when these models first came out, he got flooded with emails of avatars trying to say hello. Like I'd like to work with lean techniques, blah, 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 blah. Sent us a few of the really bad ones. So I told him, well, with Azure, you can just do that with an avatar. And here's what the original text sounds like.
Hello, Tim. I can say lean techniques. Will you buy my product?
So that was a joke because of all these companies were trying to sell him whatever they might have been working with or trying to sell. The cool part here is I can actually go in and say, okay, maybe it got Tim got lean techniques right. We can go in here and line by line edit and say, okay, maybe I didn't want to say buy my product. Maybe I wanted it to say buy my products, plural. And then I can hit apply changes. We'll update that. And what that'll do is just retranslate that one little spot and then change it to the German part to make it plural. So we can actually do that. We'll see how long. It shouldn't have to redo the whole video. And this isn't a real-time service, so it is a little bit cheaper, but because of that, sometimes it does take a little bit. Um, there we go. And then we can actually click 2 different phrases. So this supports up to 30 minutes of video. I believe it's $2.50 per hour of video, but I think you do have to upload it in 30-minute chunks. But we can go ahead and say,
Wirst du mein Produkt kaufen? Hallo, Tim, ich kenne mich mit Lean Technikquiz aus. Wirst du mein Produkt kaufen?
so we can do all that. It gives us the language changes. We can also do this to spread it out if we want it to take longer, for example.
Wirst du mein Produkt kaufen? Wirst du mein Produkt kaufen?
And it'll change, how it addresses it in here. So we could do that. We could edit it. We could cut. We could slice. We can do all that. And then you just save it off and download. And you can get the transcripted video, the subtitles, the metadata, the original, all of that. And then we have it, a multi-region. And then if I want to then use a different voice, we're still doing a pre-built neural voice, but I can switch it to a different language. What neural voice does in the translator is it tries to pick the next best voice. If you don't give it a custom one, the closest one to the person speaking. So if you have multiple speakers, you'll notice we did one because there was only one previously. It'll pick the best voice for the person who's talking. So it tries to match pitches, match just how the person talks and their voice level, all that sort of stuff. So if you talk different, it might give you a different voice at the end that says is the best voice, for example. And it also depends on the language you're translating to. Not every region is supported the same or has multiple choices. So particular regions might only have one voice. So that's just what you're going to end up with. Sorry, not regions, languages. Some languages have multiple dialects, like English, Spanish, both have a lot of different regional dialects. So you can pick between those depending on where you're trying to go. One thing that's also kind of fun, that's can be a little dangerous, is a custom voice. So if you want to train a custom voice here, it's actually kind of fun.
Hi, welcome to Custom Neural Voice, a speech service capability on Azure. I'm Jenny, a synthetic voice created by Custom Neural Voice and
So you can actually read different things. So I've done a light voice. One thing I will call out is hosting this does cost quite a bit of money. I've been told in the neural voice space, it's actually fairly cheap. But this is my when I've been in Azure spending too much money on my personal account. It costs, I think it's $5 per hour that the voice is hosted in Azure. And you can do the math, and I think it ends up being around $3,000 a month. So while that seems like a lot, if there's a particular voice talent or person that you want to have, their voice on here or in your content narrating, you could theoretically have, your CEO then speaking any language or voiced over anything. They wouldn't actually have to record it. You could just type it in, and then now their voice is in your Azure. You could just say like, "Okay, hi, I'm Mr. CEO, Tim Cook." But back to the Azure example, and we could do that, assuming Tim Cook was actually with us and signed that we could, use his voice and all that sort of stuff. So there is some voice talent consent stuff you have to do. So we can't just go out to the web and like scrape Tim Cook's voice, and stuff like that. But you just have to either give it enough audio on the right. If we're going to do the required size, there's the light and the pro. The light only takes a couple hours to train. So we can see what that kind of sounds like.
Who will suffer if it goes wrong?
And this is what it sounds like.
As I write, it's June 2017.
It's very robotic, if you noticed. That's because when they also want you to do utterances, is what they call the samples. It has you read them at a very monotone voice. Don't show a lot of inflection. Kind of keep it very mellow, like very mellow when you're reading it. And it says it takes less than 1 hour to train, so not even hours. It takes less than an hour, which is cool if you're just want a very simple way to just say, different things. If you want to do the custom one, here's kind of what a voice sounds like.
Well, it's unlikely to rain, it's not windy, and it's a bit warmer than yesterday. Can you decide from there? It's the ultraviolet index. It tells you how strong the UV is on any particular day. It goes from 1 to 11, where 1 is low. Here in the UK, 8 would be the highest.
And if you notice, that second voice we heard sounded much more like the real deal, right? It was more, had inflection, intonation, wasn't super monotone. That you can do, it takes a lot more utterances. So they have some sample scripts on GitHub that you can just read. They also recommend using professional equipment when recording for this one. That's just because it, looks at your voice a little bit better. And if it's because of your microphone quality that you're not getting the best quality out, kind of defeats the purpose of training it. 300 to 2,000 recorded utterances instead of the 20 to 50 it wanted on the light version. Again, we need the voice talent consent for recording. And then it will take 20 to 40 compute hours to train a single style voice, which is about 90 compute hours total. Or sorry, 90 compute hours to train a multi-style voice. So what that means is you can actually put little like tags. They look kind of like HTML tags. So we can have like neutral,
He returned to the field in June 2017.
angry,
I can't take this anymore.
sad.
She felt disheartened when she was not chosen to be on the school.
And you can do other things like that. So you can say, oh, okay, well, maybe my voice is going to be, if I wanted to type something out, say like maybe Apple hit record profits, right? Be cheerful.
I'd be happy knowing you're safe.
So we could do that and then have different terms or different ways to, express different emotions or make it sound more natural and human like. We can also do have our voice speak additional languages with no extra training data needed. So again, this goes back to like maybe I'm a CEO of a multinational. This there's an ethic question here, but from a technology standpoint, it's super cool that I could theoretically be the CEO, speak something in English, and then have it just like be my voice in any language I desire. So I could say, original recording.
But long before she earned that title, she and her brother Andrew performed on the streets of Chattanooga.
So now I could do Chinese,
你可以把刚才的话再重复一。
German,
Der Kommentar wurde gesendet. Vielen Dank für Ihren Beitrag. Há queixas naturais que vão sendo acomodadas. He returned to the field in June 2000.
So that supports languages for training data as well. The more robust one has more languages that you can start as your base language, and then the access is limited for the more robust one too. The price per unit compute hour is applied equally to both. You can check the pricing here, which if we go to pricing, pay as you go, custom. It looks like it might have. Oh, that's speech to text. Custom. That's just for the training. Endpoint hosting is now 5 cents per model hour. So it looks like it's dropped quite a bit. Unless dollars per ton endpoint. Oh, here it is. I lied. It's the custom voice endpoint hosting is $4.04 per model hour to just host your voice. So um, that does end up costing a little bit if you do the math. So that way, just be aware if you're going to go ahead and try to use this, that it might be a little costly. Anyway, this is a fun way to layer different Azure technologies together to speak pretty much any language under the sun. There's probably a few that they're missing, but like for example, the text one has even two different ways to translate English to like Klingon. There's two different versions of Klingon. So if they have that, they probably have a lot of the major languages if you're trying to do business in them. Even probably some not major ones, right? More regionally focused. So I'd say if you want to speak any language, trying to get Azure, uh, go ahead and give it a try. If you want to, um, yeah, that's about it. If you want to go ahead and try to learn new languages, there is also language assessments in Azure, so you can practice pronunciation, and there's a tool off the shelf for that as well. With that, I will go ahead and thank you for listening. Enjoy Azure Back to School, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.